So, hi, no waffling. And while I'm feeling somewhat emotionally stable, we're going to get right to it. So, as a mother who loves hearing from my kids and grandkids, it feels somewhat counterintuitive to admit Mother's Day is hard for me. It's always been overshadowed by my challenging relationship with my mother. You know, there isn't a Hallmark card that was ever really appropriate. They don't make one that simply says, "Thanks for giving me life." Sounds kind of brutal, but that's how I felt. I don't look forward to it, and as the day gets closer, there's reminders of it everywhere. It's on TV, store displays, restaurant ads. It's like brutally in your face. Here I come. Some wounds we experience in our lifetime are much easier to heal than others. It takes a lot of work, heightened self-awareness, and an honest desire to heal and forgive. My mother died 19 months ago. She chose to cut me out of her life 5 years prior to her death. Her choice, not mine. Our relationship was already strained and had been for much of my adult life. In my late 30s, it became necessary for my own mental health for me to make a decision to either cut her out of my life or figure out a relationship on my terms. I chose the latter. I put boundaries in place that worked for me. And for the most part, it worked. And the funny part is, she likely didn't even notice, but that's okay. Like I said, it worked. In the year prior to her death, I knew she was struggling with significant health issues, and a part of me hoped her heart would soften and she would reach out to me, and I could somehow help. Sure, I could have reached out to her, but I was fairly certain, confident that she wouldn't acknowledge or accept an offer of peace. So the proverbial olive branch was firmly in her court. So it wasn't a complete surprise when I heard a couple of months before she died that she didn't have long to live. I was fortunate in that I had a cousin who was in contact with her and her roommate / caretaker. So I was kept apprised of her condition, all along. After some significant soul searching and some encouragement by the cousin, I called her. It went straight to voicemail. I left her a simple message telling her how sorry I was that she was ill, that I loved her, and I would love to hear from her. Did I expect a call back? Not really, but there was, that tiny grain of hope that she would call. However, she died a couple of weeks later, and no, she didn't call. I don't even know if she listened to the message. I'm choosing to believe that she listened to it and at least knew that I loved her. In the time prior to her death, I had time to think about how it might affect me, how I would feel. Would I be sad? Would I still be confused and angry? Would I be relieved? Relief seems really harsh, but a legitimate possibility. So surprisingly, when I got the call, I was actually shocked, even though I had expected it. I was incredibly sad. I cried. I was upset that I didn't get to say goodbye. I was struggling to wrap my head around the fact that I would now never have an opportunity for a reconciliation. And the finality of it all was pretty overwhelming. No matter what, she was still my mother. She gave me life. And it was a shift. And man, it was a shift I don't think I was ready for. And I don't think you're ever ready for that, no matter what your relationship is. But as I sit here, I'm tired of dreading Mother's Day like I usually do. Even though she's no longer here, the effects still linger. It triggers so much for me, no matter how much therapy or positive work we do on ourselves, there are still things that are triggering. We can't outrun the triggers. I shared before that I struggle with anxiety, depression, and less than robust self-esteem. And occasionally, this is hard to admit, but the thought runs through my head, if my own mother didn't want me, how could anyone else? It must mean I have no value. Intellectually, I know that isn't true. But in those fragile emotional moments we all have, that thought can rear its ugly head. But this year, I want this year to be different. I'm tired of dreading Mother's Day. I don't want the past to overshadow the day and the joy for me that it has. It's time to let go of the unpleasant memories associated with the day and instead remember and embrace the good things about my mother. There were good things. There were a lot of good things about my mom. She was funny. She had a really good sense of humor and could always make you laugh. She was a really good cook. She taught me how to cook instinctively. She was a fun Girl Scout leader, always coming up with fun things to do and loved badges. When I was 14, she let me drive our car down the street, and when I drove through the garage door, knocking down and damaging my father's meticulously restored motorcycle, she was the one to break the news to him. And trust me, that was no little thing. My father had quite the temper. She always took me with her on Friday grocery shopping day. She used a bit of her grocery money to take us to an all-you-can-eat buffet. It was always fun, and it was a secret that we shared together, and it made me feel special. She taught me to sew. She didn't like to sew, but she supported and encouraged me, and I think I even made her a few things. I even made her a costume one year, I think, that she loved. I got my love of reading from her. By the time I was 12, I was reading the adult mystery novels that she checked out at the library. And calm down. There was nothing appropriate or racy. Just plain old-fashioned mystery novels. She taught me how to play jacks and how that I should use a golf ball instead of the small red useless rubber ball that came with the set. Anyone my age remember that red rubber ball? You could see where the seam was, where the halves came together, and the ball always bounced weirdly. She enjoyed making crafts, and she inspired my love of crafting, which I've had lifelong. She taught me how to embroider and cross-stitch, which, by the way, are making a comeback, and I'm kind of enjoying that comeback. She wasn't great at it, but she would play video games with me when she came to visit. And the other thing that she loved to do when she would come to visit is put together a jigsaw puzzle. For years, I always had a jigsaw puzzle on the table going so that we could work on it a little bit at a time. And in one of the darkest times of my life, she was there for me. So this Mother's Day, I'm going to think of her fondly, remember the good things and the good times, continue to practice forgiveness, and let the rest go. Nothing good comes from hanging on to that old baggage. It's a waste of time and energy, right? And it doesn't feel good. I kind of feel like I should apologize for this kind of depressing and possibly triggering content, but I'm not going to. If it's possible that what I have to say helps even one person out there who is hurting and has some of the same struggles, that's never a bad thing. So if you've made it this far, thank you for listening. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and I'll see you next time. Bye.